Hi everyone, this is Pierrick from P2design. In this third tutorial we will give some randomness to our sphere among the necklace and set up the nodes and the rendering for our final image output. Let's get started. So let's say I'm happy with the result here. We will just get out of edit mode and our necklace just get to its original shape. Let's just push this to 1 and you can see the shape key in action. So let's just keep it like this and make a short render view, and we won't be using the hair for the timing because it makes the rendering a bit too slow. But if we check our reference image here, we can see we have some slight variation of color and intensity between the different sphere here, and also maybe a subtle change of direction into the wooden pattern. And we will just add this to the current material so that it will look more natural, more interesting also to have a small variation. Okay, so that's pretty easy actually, even if it will make our node a little more complex. It's easier but more complex. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. So I will use the 3D view here to have a look to my shader, Shift Z. As I don't want to render those around here, that will make my rendering card slower, just click the border here. If you have set this, I want the complete thing just border the exterior of the camera, and click again border, and now it's bordered to the camera field of view. First of all, let's clean up a little our shader. So select necklace here. Nope, nope, nope. Okay, I need to select the original sphere here. Okay, and let's see what we have. We have used both the wood here and the burning head here and here. Okay, with exactly the same values, I believe. So we will get rid of one of the group and just plug them here. So what we will do is add a layout reroute here. We'll plug this here and plug this one here, move them like this. Add another one, reroute, sorry, here, and it will allow us to have a cleaner viewport like this, this one here, and then this one here, and this one here. Okay, we'll get rid of those that are not important. Okay, let's save the file, and now let's see what we can do with those. So mainly we will be playing with our wooden texture here, and I think I'm using it somewhere else, maybe. Nope, this is our where is the bump generator? It's here, and here the color generator. Okay, so what we can add for the time being is an input, like for the hair we'll use an object info, and it will give us some variation information here upon the position, the object index. We don't have an index, so it's purely black. And material index, same thing. If you are using index for your material, it will allow you to give it a color. For your render, to separate the different passes, it can be really cool. And random, and here we have randomness in our object, and this is what we want. We will add a converter color ramp so that we can increase the different values from black to white. Okay, now I have more contrasted differences here, and we will use this to change the orientation slightly of our wooden pattern, and also the color contrast of our, or hue, or whatever you want the color, to make it simple, of our wood. So basically from this we output a color here that is used to set a color to our sphere, and here an orientation, a strength for our bumpiness. Okay, so what we want is make a variation in the value that is outputted here and redistributed here. So we will use this, we will duplicate those both, Alt D, no, sorry, that is deconnecting. I don't remember, Control Shift D maybe, no. Control Alt D, I don't remember. Okay, there is a way to duplicate and keep the thing plugged in the stack. And here we will make a slight rotation of our map. Change the orientation. Okay, let's try 0. Control Shift. Okay, that's too much. Let's try 60. Okay, here it is great. So if I compare, it will be moved like this, and maybe on other axis we can try. No, I have distortion here, I don't like it. And here, okay, like this it's great. And let's try 0, and here let's get closer to the former version, 80. Okay, so now I have this pattern like this and this pattern like this. Okay, and what is outputted here is a vector value. Okay, but vector is interpreted as a color, and when plugged into a vector entry here, it's reinterpreted as a geometry location. So if we use a color mix RGB here and here, we will have the average value of those both position currently, this one and this one. And if I mix it with my former randomness input here, I will have those different orientation distributed among the necklace. So if I plug those here, then I believe, I don't even need this one anymore. I believe that's gonna be fine, and I should have, you see, different orientation among the different sphere here. So if we will try to identify the first one. So this one, we will make it really darker, close to black, so that it keep the first orientation here. And if I test it here, you see it hasn't changed. And the white one, if I have a pure white one like those, they will have this orientation. So let's try the mix one. So here I have my randomness. Unfortunately, I'm not super happy with the distribution. I hoped the randomness was better. So you can do it here by adding more cursor and put them into black, into white, trying to guess which one is trying to find the frontier between those values. But we will keep it as it was, as we had more contrast between the values. Okay, let's just do it manually before Blender crash. Okay, like this. So now I have this, and as it affects everything, it will also affect our bumpiness here. So those are quite the same, but this one is different, this one is different, etc. And if I check the final render here, I do have a different distribution of this wooden pattern. So now let's do it with the color. Very simple. From this thing, and I will just remove it. I try to make things looking more organized, but it's just looking more messy here. And where was it plugged? Might be there. Nope. Okay, I've made a mistake. Okay, just found it. So this one here, and here. Okay. And this one overlay is using this texture. Okay, great. So let's have some color variation to our node. This is going to be our factor for the different color we will output, and we will check what we are going to create. So color first, let's try a hue and saturation here. Let's plug our column node here, and let's play with the hue. So this value here might be cool, and maybe that's really sensitive. I don't really like the hue and saturation Blender. And this one, so 0.47 maybe, it's decent. Yep, to 0.52. Let's add those value, input value. So 0.47, I don't know what I was saying, 0.52. Let's add a mix color, mix RGB. Use our color ramp as a factor and plug it in the hue. And I have those variation. This was the original one and the new one. Okay, and let's do it also with a curve, RGB curve. Sorry, sometimes I try to speak and think at the same time, and it's impossible for me. So let's just make it darker, like this one, and plug the factor here. And then for all the colors here, let's plug it. And I don't plug it in the ramp here that is driving the bumpiness, because we will have different dark colors, different color values, sorry, and it will change the bumpiness strength. And I think It might be a good thing to do, but you will have to tweak those values to have your threshold between creases and bumpiness. And for the time being, we were happy with this bumpiness, as it is really subtle. I just want to keep it this way and not want to spend 2 hours tweaking this. So let's try our last shader. So now I have those nice variation. It's maybe too dark, so here the curl, let's just make it a little lighter here, and maybe a bit too yellowish, so it was the higher value. Let's check 0.51, and I get back to my wooden color here. Okay, so now I have my variations. Let's select our, oh, it was already selected sphere here. Let's enable the particle system in the viewport mode like this, and here is the necklace, I believe. Yep, here it is. So last thing, I will make a short outro to show you how to render it, get the different passes and compose them and combine them in Photoshop. You can do it in Blender. I'm not super fan of Blender post-processing tool because I haven't used it that much, so I'm not familiar with it instead of being a big fan. And I will show you some tips I use to make composition. I am not the best artist ever, but I think there are basic rules to enhance a scene. So before we start rendering here, we will first place our camera a little in a better position. Let's unzoom a little, and you can use the compositing guide here, the third, to see what's interesting is in the middle of the camera. If you have the same distance between the two borders, and if you have the same amount of details in everything. So here I have an empty space here in the first third, another here on the top, and in the middle I have what we are focusing on. So I believe that's okay this way. I will lower our backdrop so that we can see more our bust here and the clavicle, even if it's absolutely not accurate. I believe as a sculpt it was made really fast. It will make it a little better. And what I will do also, it's slightly, change the point of view, make the camera higher. I will get back to simplify. It was already 0.1. The air system is pretty resource demanding, so reducing it in the simplify properties here, that reduce the whole subdivision level of the scene and whole particle system of the scene is a good way. I will zoom in a little. Okay, get rid of simplify and get rid of this view. Let's get back to our outliner, and here what I want is a render of the necklace here on itself, on a layer, and another of the backdrop and the bust. But I don't want those to have any shadow influence on the backdrop, so I will put them in a separate layers. the backdrop is currently on the second layer. Here we have the bust, okay, and here we have our necklace. So first I will move those on another layer here, like this, and we will set our first layer, okay. So let's select, I don't know why it's so laggy here, really annoying. Let's set our renders. So here, necklace. I want the combined pass for sure. I want the shadow and the AO, even if I don't always use the shadow. We don't have any emission, so we don't need it. The diffuse direct is interesting, and the color also. Glossy direct and color are very useful. You can use every output that how you want, but generally I use the combine, AO, diffuse direct, sometime color, the glossy direct, sometime color, and that's it. We will use the transmission because it will allow us to get the hair. Okay, I always don't know which one I have to activate, so I activate those everything. Okay, and we will render our necklace only on this layer. So here are the layer involved into the render, so we want everyone to be involved. Here is the one we want to output, our necklace, the first one. Okay, we won't exclude any of the object in the rendering, sorry, but we will mask our necklace with this, meaning that what is behind won't be rendered, and what is behind this won't be rendered. So we will use second and third layer as a mask. Okay, that's it for the necklace. Let's create a second pass, which will be our bust or ground. Usually I call this ground, like this. Here we will be rendering those both layers. Okay, so the ground and the bust. We will use all scene layers. Then what we will do to make sure they don't appear in the camera here is to select the plane, go into ray visibility and remove them from camera view, and they will be used for the rendering for every ray trace, but they won't appear in the camera. Okay, so I'm happy with this result. Maybe move the camera a little like this. Let's see how our necklace is placed. That's fine for me. Okay, so for the ground I usually use the combine, the AO and shadows, and most of the time only the combine, so, and the Z. So now how to output those passes into files. You go into the node editor. Here select layers, use node. By default it should add at least the first node, but I have erased them. So Shift A, input, render layers, duplicate it. I can see my layer necklace here and ground here with the corresponding output, and we will add output file output here, and we will save them wherever you want. Okay, create Akuma. Okay, accept. And now we will add more input like this, really fun, and plug our different passes into it, and they will be outputted as PNG files in this folder, and I want to name them. So here for the first necklace I will copy this name, second one necklace shadow, etc, etc, for everything, and also for this one ground, etc, or it will be overwritten. So we have our nodes here done and outputted here, so that we will have all the passes saved in this folder. In the render layer, I have added another one here that will render everything, every layers, because we want to source the Z-pass of the global composition. I got rid of the Z-pass on those. It is not plugged here because you will have separate Z-passes and you won't be able to combine them easily. So that will increase a little render time because you will have to render it a third time, but this Z-pass of the global layer will be way easier to handle. So let's add here an input render layer, select our global layer here, and we need to output the Z-pass as a color, not a value information. We will add a vector normalize here. What it will do, this one, is that it will calculate the Z-pass from the nearest point inside the camera view to the farthest one here, and we will have a nice black and white gradient. To convert it into color, we just need to add a color mix and select a pure white here and a pure black here, and use the normalize as a factor. And here it is. We will have our Z-pass using every element here, so that we have a cool depth information. Now let's check the render properties. I'm using a 1K resolution size that I have bumped up a little at 120%, so that we will output files that will be like 1300 pixel large. Here in the output, we don't care about this, it will create a copy in another folder. It's not important. We will use PNG with transparency, that's important. You can use 16-bit information for the depth of the PNG, but you won't see really the difference. I mean, for this tutorial, I don't think it's really important. For the sampling, we are using 600 samples. That's enough, I think, to have a good resolution and pretty smooth appearance of the pixel. I let the light pass as a default. In the film, please think to click transparent, so that you will have a transparent alpha when there is nothing in the camera array, and that's really important. It will avoid you to have to do it in Photoshop manually. For the performance, as I will use GPU compute, I'm using tiles of 256 by 256. If you are using CPU compute and you're running an Intel processor, 32 by 32 is great. If you are running with an AMD CPU, I found that 16 by 16 was a little better than 32 by 32. Okay, so now everything is checked. We just need to launch the render.